Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another episode of Your Words, Your Voice. I am the host, James Hopkins, and my co-host, Mr. Zion Washington, and absent from the table today because he's on punishment for just making too much noise is my friend Bully, but we're going to have him back next week. Today, my special guest is a street warrior, a street king, a young man by the name of Joseph K. Holliday, and he's a founder and CEO of No Greater Love Youth and Community Missions, and he's a dedicated mentorship coach, entrepreneur, and a consultant. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you now to Mr. Joseph K. Holliday. Welcome to the show, Mr. Holliday.
Thank y'all for having me. Thank you for having me.
All right. Look, I like that. Before we get into the questions, Mr. Zion is the Simon Cowell of this show. So I like to ask the easy questions.
Yes,
and
sir.
first off, just tell us, aside from your organization, who is Joseph Holliday?
Joseph Holliday is someone that is an example and a sign of a power greater than ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I am a representation that God is real. When you see me, you need to know that God is real,
Mm-hmm.
and He's powerful, and He is a way maker.
Okay.
So I love my people. I'm a lover of our people. I'm passionate about community,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just so excited to be here today, brother.
Okay. So I hear you speaking of God, and and He's a way maker. How long have you been? I guess you consider yourself a saved man.
Mm-hmm.
What part of your life, or has this just been your entire life, or what happened in your life that played a pivotal role in you being so committed to Christ the way that you committed to Him now?
Well, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that it's a religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that Christ wants us to do like Him and be in His examples and be His hands and feet
Mm-hmm.
in this world and on this plane.
Mm-hmm.
So I come from a very troubled background growing up in the east of New Orleans East Beach, as they called us. And so I was one of the first to experience the crack cocaine epidemic
Mm-hmm.
in Black America and urban America, the gang epidemic that we're experiencing now, the addiction epidemic that we're experiencing now, and a lot of the political things that are going on. So this is not just started, this is generational and systemic things that has been happening in our country for a long time.
Okay. So I like to ask direct questions. I just like, it's your words, your voice. Say it if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't have to. When you speak about coming up during a gang era and during the crack epidemic era, how were you involved in that directly? I know a lot of us came up. We may not have been in the gang, but we were affiliated because of the people we hung with.
Right.
A lot of us came up in that time. We may wanted a little extra money,
Mm-hmm.
and we did what we did,
Mm-hmm.
So just tell us about, how you were then as opposed to how you are now.
Well, what makes my journey so different and so replicable with what's going on today, my mother introduced me to what we call the gang or the survival code.
Mm-hmm.
So you're looking at a single mother with 7 children, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm the oldest. When all the children go to school, I can't go to school. So mother teaches me the hustle game.
Mm.
And so at 10 years old, I'm selling crack cocaine
Okay.
because I don't know anything about right and wrong. All I know is my siblings are hungry.
Right.
So that I know I can resonate with the young people today
Mm-hmm.
and understand how crime is at an all-time high.
Right.
When you have poverty and when you have a lack in a poor educational system, then you have these are the consequences
Right.
and the repercussions.
Right, and that's so true because especially during the peak of the crack cocaine era, jobs weren't scarce; they just weren't paying.
Mm-hmm.
And and it was so easy. You could go to work and make $3.35 an hour, and work 40 hours, and Uncle Sam gets finished and you still don't bring $100 home, but you can go make a couple of runs and you're bringing $1,000 a week home. So the choice wasn't hard, and it was definitely, plentiful, to go around for people who wanted to do it. And in our community, and we look at what's going on now in the black community, there are a lot of fathers absent out of the house, and a lot of it stemmed from the crack era.
Absolutely.
It stemmed from the crack era, not just them using, and being incarcerated because of, that was one of the biggest eras of mass incarceration in United States history. Now, we're talking about even doing once the slaves were released and all of that. Of course, they were just locking people up on trumped-up charges. But when we're talking about true mass incarceration, the crack cocaine era has to be, the biggest, in American history. So as a result of that, we lost a lot of fathers in houses.
Yes.
A lot of our black men locked up. The women were left to fend for themselves.
Yes.
So, and it goes back to what he said. Mama can't make enough money to pay the bills. So what end up happening is she gets the children. Go sell this. Go sell that. And there were times when mama went out and sold something, So a lot of people don't know, we talk about there are no good black men, and we hear that a lot, for every one man, there's how many women?
Yes.
13 or something like that, black, because most of our men are locked up. But what they don't tell you is that the reason the black men are so absent is because, of unfair laws where you could sell a $20 crack rock and get more time than somebody that sells $2,000 worth of cocaine, because crack was a black drug. The way it was cooked down, it was cooked down to saturate black neighborhoods, the black communities. But what happens, you start getting people who were getting wealthy off of it. They're okay with you being hood rich, but when you start getting wealthy off of it, that's where the problem came in. So I just wanted to throw that out there. If I had Bully, I'd ring him and let him know that was a little truth bomb. But that's how our black communities got so screwed up. And sad to say, 30 years later, we haven't rebounded from it.
Right.
People are still looking at black men and calling them lazy. Well, they don't want to work. Well, most of the ones who are trying to get jobs can't get jobs because they have these felonies over them, for selling crack. So I just want to throw that out there. Back to the show. We're going to take you over to Mr. Zion, who's going to start his questionnaire.
Yes,
So
sir.
it seems like just from a very young age, you were set out not to be the odds. And so was there ever a point in your life that you just realized something had to change or there was a turning point in your life that might have set you on a path to where you are now?
Absolutely. Well, when I found myself sitting in a jail cell on $1.5 million bond, then I knew that it had got real, and I was a teenager at the time, and it was a huge paradigm shift moving from Minneapolis, Minnesota in college to moving to Mississippi, where my mother had relocated here. And as a consequence of hustling again and getting back into that environment, I found myself incarcerated, and I received a very extensive amount of time where I served 26 years of my young life that I could never get back.
Right.
So I thought most of my time I spent mentoring other men, other young brothers, and other fathers that were in that situation that were going home every day. So with me pouring into these young men, God looked down and saw my needs. So it is not a crime to become a criminal, but it is a crime to remain one. And if you're
Excuse me, can you say that again?
it is not a crime to become a criminal, but it's a crime to remain one.
Wow.
Wow.
Hope
So-
y'all heard that.
Black people, we aren't inherently criminal.
Right.
That if we don't wake up and say I'm going to do something bad today. But unfortunately, due to our circumstances and due to our need and being poverty stricken, if we don't have a mindset, if we haven't been taught to pull ourselves up with our own bootstrings, then we'll result to this fast money and selling drugs and all of these things that consequently end up with us being incarcerated. And everybody doesn't do a lot of time or receive a lot of time, but we have a huge problem with recidivism. When once you go into the system, you're going in and out like a revolving door. So I call it life on installment plan. Every black family, African American family, has a cousin or an uncle. They in and out of prison their whole lives, because prison is also an extension of a mental institution. Because most people incarcerated, they were not in their right minds when they did what they did, whether it was addiction motivated,
Right.
or where again it was a motivation for material needs. So that still isn't the natural person, if they're in an ideal environment.
Okay. So in the system, did you notice a lot of different situations where certain people were getting more time for people who were doing the same than people who were doing the same crime?
I believe that's life. I think in life, every case always a case-by-case situation. So I don't think that there's a bar that you can really set to gauge how what sentence someone receives.
Right.
However, we do realize with the African American being 13% of the U.S. population, yet over 65 to 80% of the prison population, then that disproportionately lets us know that there's a fly in that milk, like the old folks say.
That's right. That's right.
You know, that is something that's not in the favor of the African American once he finds himself in that position. Now, mind you, we're ignorant, we're really miseducated, uneducated, and what I mean by that, over 85% of people incarcerated only have a 3.5 reading comprehension level. So how can you really rise above your circumstances if you come there illiterate, not having an education, and now you have to go into the fields, and now you're in a cell 23 hours in one? Then you really won't change your environment unless you have a true soulful experience and an awakening with the inner self that says that it's got to be better for me. I want better for myself and for my people. So again, my reason for coming on this show is because too many youth are dying only to realize they had not yet lived.
Right.
We're burying young people. There's so many. This young man right here is for every Zion we have 4 that are going to prison or dying, and that's and God isn't pleased with that.
Right.
That's not natural. So my thing is, I believe in that cliche. You can learn a lot from a crash dummy. Somebody that's made those mistakes.
Right.
Before the multi-billion-dollar car industries put a car out, they're going to test it with a crash dummy.
That's right.
To see what the impact is going to be upon impact of an accident. What would be the results? So you see the results when you going, pulling these guns, popping these pistols, shooting people, and not thinking of the consequences. If you 20 years old and you commit a crime like armed robbery, that's a mandatory sentence of 20 or 30 years. So we're ignorant of the law.
Right.
Not only are we operating off of animal instincts in survival mode, but we're ignorant of the law. And when you get caught up by the justice system, ignorance of the law is no excuse.
No excuse.
So I have a cliche called Arrested to Rescued. I just wrote this book.
Okay.
Arrested to Rescue. And we're talking about
Can you hold it at that camera right there?
Arrested to Rescue by Joseph Holliday. And in this book, I eloquently express about We're not talking about handcuffs. Long before a criminal has handcuffs, it's arrested development of the mind. We talking about in Black America, we have a spiritual arrested development, especially since COVID. A lot of people don't even go to the house of the Lord anymore.
Right.
Not to mention it's not safe. You can go to church or go to a place of worship and get shot in these days and times.
Right.
So it's so many reasons, again, that I am so thankful for this opportunity to get this message out about stop the killing, put down the guns, and us as Black men, women, and children to come back as like the prodigal son did, and have a come to Jesus moment with our higher power and with one another.
Right.
Because God said, you alive, you love me, but hate your brother and your sister that you do see. So imagine how many people are going to this hell because they say hate. If you see it in your mind and imagine that you've already manifested in the spiritual realm. So when does it stop from us killing each other?
And that's a really great point that you made. And I just want to go back to how at a very young age you were already involved in crime. And you said you had a coming to Jesus moment where your paradigm shifted. Now, one of the key things that I've seen within the young Black community is an identity crisis. They don't have a coming to identity moment where they feel like there's something greater than what's already outside of what they've been doing because they're stuck in survival mode.
True.
And this is a theory that's been rooted, and you all can look this up, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before people even think about becoming responsible citizens of society, they need to make sure that their basic needs are met. Shelter, food, water. Your family's going to come before any civic engagement. And so before you can even think about becoming an honorable member of society and contributing to something outside of, selling crack or being involved in gun violence, you have to think of your family first. You're already in survival mode. And so I just want to emphasize that the best way for us to get our young people out of survival mode is providing them with as many programmatic solutions and equitable opportunities as possible. Exposure at a young age, make sure that they're not incarcerated down the road. And so that's going to lead us into our next question. So I just want to know, you have a nonprofit called No Greater Love, and so let's talk a little bit about that. So can you tell us the backstory behind that?
Yes, No Greater Love was founded with my passionate. So again, by me being the oldest of 7, I've always had that big brother syndrome to look out on the people around me. So of course, during my time in the streets and incarcerated, I was always the brother that had love for everybody. And so during my time incarcerated, I always said, well, when I go back into society, I would like to give back to the youth. And the way I would do that is I would be hands-on like Christ was. You have to go where they are. So me and James right here, we serve many communities, whether we're doing meal programs, whether it's fresh water in Jackson, Mississippi.
That's right.
Whether it's gun violence programs, whatever it is, we have to have proximity and we have to be involved. And our young people have to see Black men in positive circumstances and at positive events, speaking positive, being articulate, being able to communicate without being ignorance and displaying foolery. So it's imperative that men show up and get involved in everyday life. That's what it's about for me. It's about being a man and showing young people that there are Black men that are still here. We care, we're passionate about our people, our families. We love and we are dedicated to our communities and to public safety just as much as any other person is about their families.
Right.
I was going to say, you had something, you were going to talk about the awards. I was just going to say, what you're doing is really important because you're demonstrating a role model. You're giving a metric these young Black men and young women to look after and an identity to confide in, a model of what it should look like, of what things ought to be, right? And so I feel like something that we often lack in our community as well is great role models. Now, I'm saying great because we have role models. They're not always the best ones. You can look up to your rapper. You can look up to your local dope dealer. how many community activists, people that are willing to put forth the effort to shape the minds of young people. We don't have too many of those in the Black community. So I just wanted to say what you're doing is really important, and I applaud you for it.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. And that's probably why you got all these
It
achievements.
looks like someone else has applauded you too. Tell us about the awards you brought with you
man.
tonight.
So I wanted to bring my awards tonight and share with everybody. This is my first one that I received from Yazoo City right when I came home after doing 26 years incarcerated. I had a Stop the Violence rally. It was a huge turnout. I had a lot of my childhood peers from New Orleans to come and participate and to give personal knowledge and information about how this epidemic of gun violence can turn out, because of course, being in Mississippi, we have surrounding larger cities that influence us, like New Orleans, Memphis, and other southern cities, and unfortunately, we're trending in a negative way, because they started school shootings when I was in junior high school in the 80s. We had school shootings in New Orleans, but we didn't have as much social media to magnify that reality. And then you had young Black men in urban New Orleans being the ones that were the perpetrators and the victims, so it wasn't newsworthy to many people at the time. But now the fire is out of control, and nobody can contain the flames of violence.
Okay.
And so we have this next award of mine. I spoke for Tougaloo's young scholars for their STEM program, and I was excited to be at the convention center and speak to over 1,000 young people. So that motivated me, that I had an opportunity to pour seeds into young people. And again, I'm not trying to highlight me. It's not about me. I'm a man. I'm flesh and blood. I'll turn to dust. But I am telling my young people to be inspired and motivated, that there's a power greater than ourselves inside of us, that if we turn to that power, I like Martin Luther King's What Manner of Man. And Martin Luther King's What Manner of Man, he articulated how we as African-American men in our sojourn through slavery and how we got to this place here. In my opinion, I think that when we received our freedoms and we were awarded the opportunities to have the American dream of materialism and consumerism, I think that took over and outweighed our unity in the things that got us here. So once people could buy a big house and buy their own cars and have their own trinkets, they wasn't worried about, I'm just worried about getting mine, me and mine, and I just want to make money. Well, first of all, young man, no one makes money but the U.S. Mint. You earn money. So once we start giving young men that type of wordplay, words are powerful. Once we're telling young men, hey, you need to earn your money, that's a whole different concept and a mindset when we even engaging in what so-called hustling is. But I can honestly say no one wants to be a victim of gun violence, and no one wants to lose their freedom. We have too many mothers that are crying on both sides, because when you have a person that shoots the gun on this side of the gun, he loses his life, but the person that's shooting the gun, he loses his life as well. And while you incarcerated, life is going on. Your mother is out there on her own. Mamas are dying. Your daughters are getting pregnant. Your sons are coming to prison with you, with us. And so this has to stop, and it starts with us. We got to do it. Nobody is coming to save us. We have to save ourselves.
That's right.
I'm passionate about that.
Really strong points there. And it's just, like I said, I just applaud for the work that you've done in the community, because there isn't a lot of, these are the conversations that need to be had. You know, we talk a lot about what's going on in media today, whether it be in politics or what celebrity slept with another celebrity, but these are the conversations that lay the soil and set the seeds for our young people to grow and evolve. And I always stress this. I say, parents, we cannot continue to prepare our young people for a life that you lived. You must instead prepare them for a life that you want them to have. So you must think differently as well. And I'm going to bridge it to our next question. That was very powerful. I just wanted to state that. So what specific demographic or community does No Greater Love serve mostly?
Primarily West Jackson and South Jackson is where the greatest poverty in Jackson is, in my experience since I've been here. And so what I've learned that if you take young people, even in the projects, and if you show up, and if you show them that you care, and if you give them a bottle of water and tell them to go to school or keep their head up, do something to give them hope and show there's still humanity. Hope is so much. Love is everything, and it covers a multitude of sins. So although we live in a world where it's hate is at an all-time high, all of these other vices that you talked about is at an all-time high, but love is the greatest of them all.
That's right.
So I wanted to have love as the motivation, not just for myself, but for everybody that comes into contact of it, to realize that's the greatest that we have, and it has to start with the man and woman and the child in the mirror.
That's right.
We have to learn to show each other that we love ourselves and that we can love each other.
Absolutely.
Right. And even when things get out of hand, just say, if you're at an event and something get out of hand, I bring it up because,
you know, I got holiday security as well.
Right. I want you to tell them about it. That's what I was leading up to. Tell them about the security company that you have also.
Well, I'm the CEO of a small security company, Holiday Security. Of course, it's named after myself. Again, I wanted to be an African-American man in a spectrum that they're not accustomed to us being in, and I wanted it to be on the public safety spectrum. And then again, no one but would think somebody with my background would be passionate, and now I'm the first one trying to see where we need to find better places to secure our children and our faith-based people and our social entities. So, you know, we have to be involved. We have to come to the table as a people. This country is a melting pot. People came on the Mayflower and they had, this is the country of second chances. So we can do anything with nothing.
Right.
That's how blessed this soil is. Now, another thing that I preach and I teach when I'm in this city and where I'm anywhere, I speak about Dr. King, and I said he had a powerful dream that has resonated over 60 years later. But what I'm telling the young people, you are the dream.
You're the dream.
You are the dream. You are the dream. We still looking at Dr. King and his speech, but he was preparing us for what was to come.
That's right.
And those that will come. These are the chosen
That's
ones.
right.
This is the most intelligent generation that has ever walked this earth. This is the generation that our elders prayed for thousands of years ago, because they knew that these times would come and that they would be very trying times. But you were born for this moment, just like I was born for this moment. Everybody that's here now, we are the answers to all of the calamities. I don't care how bad it looks.
That's right.
I don't care if the White House is shut down. Open it back up.
That's right.
Because we have a higher power, and I'm using that word because I don't want to jump on a religious train.
Right.
You know, I'm about the spirit of the man, because the soul has no color or so-called religion. You have people that never read a Bible or Quran or a Torah in their lives, but it's the heart of the man and the woman that he speaks to.
Okay.
So I'm here in Jackson because I love the people like you.
That's right.
That motivate me to continue to do what I do. I need motivation as well. I'm human as well.
That's
So
right.
I need to see somebody with the baton just like I'm running with it.
And I love when we do events, and I wanted to talk about the security because we've done a lot of events together, you and I. A lot of those events, you're not even there representing your organization. And they're big events, you know, cameras there and all that. But you never complain and be like, well, you know, I want my organization seen too. You're just there to serve. And I love the fact, you know, that you're just there to serve. And in whatever way they need you to, you may be out in the middle of the street doing this. You know, a lot of people can't humble themselves enough, you know, to do things like that. A lot of people just have to be at the forefront. You know, so I just appreciate you for doing that. And we're going to take a commercial break. And when we get back, Zion will tap back into your mind again.
Yes, sir.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Good evening, good evening. This is James Hopkins, and this is Your Words, Your Voice.
Where we talk about what matters. From leaders making change to moments that connect us all. Every voice has a story worth telling. Your Words, Your Voice with James Hopkins, where conversations build community.
I'm James Hopkins. I'm the host. And on this podcast, we're going to be talking about all types of things. We're going to be talking about church, school, community. We're going to be talking about politics and crime.
Join the conversation. Subscribe now.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, Keepers of the Knowledge for People Who Speak the Truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippi.link.com and click on Home Delivery.
All right. We're back. And our guest today, Mr. Joseph K. Holliday. He is the CEO of No Greater Love, Youth and Community Missions. And he's been giving us a wonderful show today. If anybody want to call in to the show, that number is 601-387-2684. And we're going to send it right back to Zion the Lion.
So what have been some of the hardest challenges you faced while scaling and building No Greater Love?
Well, I think to be transparent, to see the African Americans still have a long way to go in terms of us coming together. Because since I've been here in Jackson, I formed some beautiful relationship with some beautiful people like the both of you. However, I feel that we don't have a problem with resources or mentorship. I think we have more of a problem with collaboration. Correct. And what James articulated earlier, being humble enough to be locked up and let it be in whoever, however
Right.
long it's for God and for his glory and for the betterment of our young people. So I'm very adamant about it's very frustrating that us as a people still can't come together when we're on the bottom of the totem pole.
That's right.
And we have so many gifts and so many resources amongst ourselves. I think the black community is like number 4 in all of economic class, or between 4 and 13 in the economic scheme of things. That means that we have a lot of money at our disposal, but
Right.
we misuse our resources on the wrong thing. So if we can start coming together, having community gardens just like in Jackson, imagine if a lot of the churches or the faith-based people the nonprofits, we could come together, and we got an abandoned building over here. If the three of us buy this building right here, and we work out of this building together, and then we buy the one on the corner, and then you move out and you assume that one, and it goes on, and you look around and we own a whole neighborhood.
Right.
That's what other nationalities have come from other countries and been able to accomplish. And here we are. We built this country with our blood, sweat, and tears.
Right.
Nobody is in our way but ourselves.
That's right.
Have we been challenged? Yes. Will we be challenged? Yes. But we have to look at what part that we're playing in the situation. A lot of the things that are happening to us, we can do better in terms of the response that we're having. If that makes any sense.
It does, and it goes back to something you stated before the commercial break about once we started getting our own houses and cars and all of that, that was all that mattered. Black people, you know, we hear about Black Wall Street, but what you don't hear is that there was over 80 Black Wall Streets across the country. They just say Black Wall Street because the statement is misleading into making you think there was one Black Wall Street. But there was over 80 Black Wall Streets in the country before they destroyed them all. But a lot of people say, you know, and I'm not going to say we should go back to being segregated, but our dollars,
we're in our community.
if we segregated our dollars, we would be unstoppable because we started losing all the mom and pop stores. You could go to the corner store, get you some sliced meat and all of that. We started losing all of that when we started desegregating our dollars because then we stopped wanting, you know, the stuff from the neighborhood. We want to ride out a little bit farther. Let's go eat what the white folks eat. You know, let's go spend our money there. Let's go shop at their stores. And we slowly took the money out of our community, and they're not bringing money to the black community, you know, to say, hey, let's go shop with the black people shop. They might come eat our soul food here and there, but they're not going to come spend all the money that we spend in other communities. In the Indian communities, they've come over. It used to be you had to go to the gas station. What you get? You get some oil and gas. Maybe get you a drink. But now they have everything that's in a grocery store. They ran the mom and pop stores out of business, completely out of business. But we don't take our black dollars and put them back into our businesses. When we go to black businesses, the first thing we do is look for something to be wrong so we can throw it on social media, or we're looking to see who's going to give us a hookup. We won't go there and pay $15 for a plate, but we'll go to Hamels, and I know I will, you know. We'll go to these other places and we'll pay $15, $16 for meat and 2 vegetables. But if we walk into the black establishment and they're selling it, there's a huge problem with it. Really?
Yeah.
And you know what? Yeah. I say it because I've been guilty of saying it. You know, and sometimes I have to catch myself like, man, I'm not going to pay no $14 for no 2-piece dark and 2 vegetables. But I would go over here and do it. They don't have that same revenue where they can sell it to me for $5 or $6, you know, like a grocery store can. So I can build that business by not being selfish, because it's not that I don't have the money to buy it. I just don't want to buy it because I don't think, why should I pay them this much? And the first thing pop in your mind, like when you slow yourself down and think about it, man, it's a black business trying to build, trying to survive.
Absolutely.
They're not getting those same discounts that these other people are getting. So they have to charge like that. They don't own these buildings that they're serving food out of, so they have to charge like that. You know, so it's just, if we can ever segregate our dollars, we'd be unstoppable. Man, if we could segregate our dollars, we would be unstoppable. We would be unstoppable.
Absolutely. Fun fact, the black community is the largest consumer in America, so
exactly.
That tells you that it's not that we don't have enough money, it's that we're just putting our money in the wrong places.
In the wrong places.
I fully agree with that. And so I know you mentioned you were incarcerated, so what did integration look like for you, like housing, work, just getting acclimated back into civil society?
Man, it was a huge paradigm shift, because I have a picture I hope I could share with your audience, man. Cause see, I'm trying to propagate that young people. Look, sit down somewhere and stay out of these people institutions, because this is what the bathroom area looks like. Everybody.
Wow.
That's what it looks like. Could you imagine using a bathroom like this in
Wow.
any way? In any way, those are 3, 6, 7. That's about 10 toilets right there. So for everybody that don't hear me in the back, that need to hear me in the back, would you like to be going to nature call like this? That's one of the harsh realities of being incarcerated. When you sleeping in an area, you might have 100 guys in one area. Some guys prison is so overcrowded, we got guys sleeping on the streets now. I mean, sleeping on the floor, excuse me, inside of the prison. But we have to ask ourselves this: when is enough is enough? Well, our children need our men back. So a lot of the men that are incarcerated, let me say this, they are transformed. They are restored. I'm one of many that wants to return and have a second chance at being a part of this reconstruction of our communities to be purpose-built. Sometimes the people, Paul was chosen by Christ to be the general of Christianity, and he was Saul. He was killing the Christians at one time. So this shows you how, even on a level greater, bigger than just the mundane, you can take the minus and turn it to a plus. So we have to get these young people out, these young people that have been involved, these gang leaders, these shooters and all of that. These guys are leaders. They're just channeling in the wrong direction.
Right.
If you want to shoot, we need to sign you up for the
military. That's right.
You see what I'm saying? So you can keep our country safe.
Right.
And so, again, we have some beautiful young people. They just don't, they are limited on hope, and we have to start instilling. The social media is raising our children.
Right.
Video games are raising our children, and rap music, because the mothers and the parents are trying to make ends meet and put food on the table. And as a consequence, they're present, but they're not present.
Right.
And so our children are being influenced by outside resources, and sometimes it's at home as well.
Right. I was going to say, there's also a disconnect, in generations that just don't have faith in young people. Because of a lot of the things that's transpired over the last 10 years, I'm going to say 10 years, with our young people becoming more and more, violent nature. But honestly, we don't really know what's causing that. Like you said, a lot of it could be mental illness. A lot of it could be the lack of something that they need. A lot of it could be just being desperate. But our opinion is, oh, that fool crazy, lock him up.
That's right.
And nobody's really wanting to take the time to find out, because the prison system isn't there to rehabilitate anybody, from what I see. If you have people have to take an IQ test or take a mental test, and if you just nudge the test, to me, you should be tested again. But they'll still throw you away for 20 years and expect you to come out and be a productive citizen. But there's nowhere in the prison that's teaching you, unless you have somebody like you that's actually mentoring people. But there has to be a point to a step down situation when you leave in prison, especially if you've been there 10 years or more. Times have changed so much, over the last 10 years. So I think rehabilitation has to be a part of the process. And I told somebody I had jury duty the other day. I said, I don't believe in mass incarceration. I believe in mass rehabilitation. So it's going to be hard for me to say, oh, yeah, they're guilty, especially if it's not something like a murder or something like that. If somebody went in there and stole something, it's going to be hard for me to lock them up and send them to jail, because I believe, let's find out what's going on. How can we rehabilitate this person?
And that's called,
what are they missing in life? Instead of just saying guilty, and then the judge gives them 15 years because took some shoes or something like that. And I don't know. I just believe that there has to be in the prison system some form of rehabilitation. I know they have halfway houses and things like that. Yeah. But the halfway house is just somewhere for you to learn how to just, move around and cope within the community. They're not teaching you job skills and things like that, because we also have to have businesses, and that's something businesses will have to agree to, that will hire felons. Mm-hmm. If you can't get a job, that's that uncle you were talking about mm-hmm. earlier that's constantly in and out of jail because they don't know anything but jail. Mm-hmm. And they don't have faith in themselves because nobody else has faith in them. Right. And that's where we are with a lot of our youth. And I've seen it because I volunteered in Jackson Public Schools, for 17 years. And it's sad. We have great teachers, great motivators, but it's sad that there are teachers who always say, well, you got to look at what they are now. They in Jackson. So, you shouldn't be a teacher because you don't believe that you're good enough as a teacher to teach these children and change who they are and change their mindset, change their culture, and reset who they are as students. You shouldn't be a teacher. But I heard that so many times. But because I was a volunteer, there was not a lot I could do or say about it. But I've seen it. So it's a full circle of where our children are being hurt and where the ball is being dropped with our children, because the reality is a child can't raise themselves, and it takes people like you, like Zion, like myself, and like everybody who really believes that we can change who we are as a people. It takes us to constantly be out there, constantly be on the forefront, constantly speaking and not being ashamed to tell our story. And I appreciate you for telling your story.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Zion the Lion.
Yes, so just going back to the nonprofit here, just in the next 5 years, 10 years, however many years, let's say that No Greater Love grew by over 10 times the percentage it is right now. What would that look like, and how would you be able to keep up with so many young minds and making sure that your message still gets across to them as if you were just talking to them one-on-one?
Oh, thank you. Excellent question. Well, my recipe or my formula is, again, inclusion and collaboration. No man can run a ship by itself. You have to have different people in different positions. So I'm always going to work with other individuals like the both of you and bring people to the table and see who has the expertise where and where they're best designed compared to the case management of each child.
Right.
So I believe that every child is a case-by-case situation. You can't really use a cookie-cutter approach on how we're going to tackle and challenge the catastrophes that we're dealing with our young people. So 10 years from now, No Greater Love will definitely be a learning academy because education is the foundation of all success. And
right.
within that academy would be an extensive study of other things that are needed, like automotive skills and trade skills, even etiquettes and moral skills, moral reasoning and emotional intelligence. So we need an upgraded educational system for our young people to have a crash course on what they're going to deal with in life. And again, it's about inclusion. And personally, I think that we can come out of this situation we're in if we use the same recipe and the formula that those that Dr. King used in the civil rights era. We can't do nothing without God.
Right.
So his people are all around us.
Right.
So we can't do nothing without education.
Right.
We can't do nothing without public safety. So we need our faith-based communities, our scholastic entities, and other entities in the environment to come together and formulate a system.
Right.
we have all of these churches that we don't use, but for Wednesdays, for Bible studies, and Sundays for service. Well, what about these 5 other days
Right.
that we have over 600 churches in this city?
Oh, nobody need to be.
occupy
Who
those
needs to be
churches?
saved on a Monday or Tuesday? Come on now.
We need to be
Yeah.
saved every
That's
day.
absurd. Nobody needs
But-
Jesus on a Thursday or Friday.
These churches,
We just need him on Wednesdays and Sundays, right?
no, we need them every day. And we need these churches and these faith-based places. They have gyms, they have kitchens,
Right.
They have a lot of resources that if we re-examine how we are situated in our community, we can utilize what we already have to
Right.
build up our own community. And I feel like that what we're dealing with now is only going to force us to come together,
Right.
willing or unwilling.
Right. Definitely. And speaking of coming together, we're gonna talk and let's get something going. We need another peace rally. We need it before Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes.
That's our mission.
Yeah.
That's our mission.
That's our mission.
So y'all share that with every church you know, every organization you know. We're gonna get together. We're gonna have a peace rally before Thanksgiving. Okay, Zion, you go ahead. I just wanted to throw that out there.
So I just to sum it all up, how did your faith journey begin in prison? Because that's something I've been wanting to ask. It's just, when you're in the system, it's hard to see yourself. It's hard to see yourself in Christ and where Christ is within you. So at what point did you have a coming to Christ moment while you were in jail?
Well, actually, to be transparent with you, I was several years. I was in the faith of Islam for several years, and during that time, I visited a Kairos, or we had a prison ministry that visited us on the inside. And during that time, I had an epiphany with the Holy Spirit, and that was life changing for me. But I still would say that I'm still open. I'm spiritually transparent,
Right.
Because I respect what everybody believes and what they stand for, and I believe that there's some God and some truth in some of everything,
Right.
and there's a lot of things that man has also have dumbed down or
Right.
has distorted,
Altered, right.
and utilized to manipulate for
Exactly.
his own gain.
Exactly.
So I'm very sensitive about the religious aspect. Again, I believe it's about how we treat one another and how we carry ourselves. That's your religion.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we got time for one more question. Make it a good one.
All right. So let me think. How did your relationship with God shift your identity? I know that was something that you briefly touched up on, but can you go a little bit more into how did that make Joseph Holiday?
Because a lot of people believe in God. I don't believe in God. I know God. And coming up in the era that I came up, like I said, in the crack cocaine era of the 80s and 90s, I saw a lot of people lose their lives. I saw a lot of people lose their lives while I was incarcerated. And I was like, well, why? What makes me different than these other men that you called? So that means that you're not done with me. You got a mission for me. And I need to be about my business, because I don't want him to call me and that my business hasn't been handled,
Right.
because that's going to be a very bad situation. So again, spiritually, God has always been with me, even when I was in the world, even when I was a youngster, homeless, a runaway, living that fast life in the street. I was always look up to the sky and talk to God, because I know it's something greater than us that making all this happen. Man, too
Exactly.
selfish and too hateful, they'll snatch
That's
it
right.
from you when they get
Exactly.
mad at you. So it got to be somebody else
gotta
that's
be
looking
something.
out on all of us, that love us all,
Absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, look
Okay.
past our faults and see our needs, as they say.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
sir.
right. You have a follow up to that, or
Well, I was just going to say this was an amazing podcast today because, like I said, and I told you this while we were on break, it's just you're planting something greater. You're planting a seed that is going to last for the rest of these young people's life. Outside of what we do for the community, outside of the things that the resources we may provide, you are getting them where it counts the most in their mind. And so I just want to thank you again for everything that you've done. And this is exactly what we need. Joseph Holliday said it himself. If you want something done, it is up to us. We have to pick ourselves up by our bootstraps. If there's something that you see in your community and you want it fixed, and I'm always a huge advocate for this, you need to be the organizer. If you see the issue and you are not offering solutions, then guess what? You then become a part of the issue. And so again, Joseph, thank you so much for everything that you've done. And that's all I can really say. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. That's going to be it for our show. Mr. Zion, closing remarks and shout outs.
Can I give them my information?
Yeah, I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
I was going to, hey, no closing remarks. Just do what you need to. If you see an issue, do something about it.
All right. Mr. Holliday, closing remarks or shout outs.
My closing remarks would be, I would like to shout out the Almighty God in the heavens, man, is holding all of us and holding this world in his hands. And I believe that if trauma can be passed down through generations, so can the healing. And that's what we're here for today.
That's deep.
Just like the trauma has been passed down through gun violence, domestic violence, we're here passing down love and healing.
Right.
And so if anybody wants to reach me, I do a lot of work in the community. I do a lot of feeding, clothing. I do water when they have water issues. I can be reached at 601-767-4316 or Joseph Holliday on Facebook. Thank you.
All right. Can you repeat that phone number a little bit slower?
601-767-4316. Joseph Holliday. I look forward to working with anybody that's about God's business. Let's be his hands and his feet. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Holliday, thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
It's been a
Thank you.
wonderful show.
Thank you.
Very informative. You know, I love shows like this. Leave happy, leave with something extra. You know, I like when a guest comes on and I leave with something extra. Absolutely. So I want to thank you, Mr. Holliday. And I just want to say that, you know, as community leaders, activists, organizers, and just citizens of the community, you know, it's always good to try to be a part of something positive that's going on in your community. You don't always have to stay. If you hear about something going on, you can just go through and shake somebody's hand and say, hey, look, thank you for doing this. Let us know that we're not out there, you know, in vain. But also, if you want to get out and fix a few plates or pick up a few pieces of paper, you know, we appreciate that too. But like it's been said by both of my guests here today, you have to be a part of the solution. We have to be a part of the solution. If we can't be a part of the solution, please don't be a part of the problem. And that's going to be it with that. I would also like to announce that tomorrow morning at the Mississippi State Fairgrounds, 11 o'clock for the third year in a row, I have been invited to be a part of the ribbon cutting ceremony. So if you're not doing anything tomorrow morning at 11 a.m., please meet me down at the fairgrounds where we're going to cut the ribbons for the state fair. We're going to go in, and you can come in. You know, it's free admission. You can be the first one to try out. I know some of y'all like that street corn. Y'all like those elephant ears and all that good stuff they be having. Well, guess what? The wait is over. Tomorrow morning, 11 a.m., I want y'all to show up. And the whole time the fair is here now, let me tell you some new rules they have. I'm going to throw this out here, but y'all going to hear about it if you haven't already heard about it. If you are not 18 years or older, Sunday through Thursday, after 6 p.m., you will have to be accompanied by someone that's at least 21 years old, and they must have proof of age. Again, that's Sunday through Thursday after 6 p.m. If you're not at least 18, you must be accompanied by someone that's at least 21. Fridays and Saturdays from open to close, if you're not 18 years old, you cannot get in the fair unless you're accompanied by someone that's at least 21 years old. And that's just safety precautions. I don't have a problem with it. So kind of remember that before you drop your children off, your teenagers, they're not going to be able to get in without an adult with them. Also, this year, you cannot carry bags unless they're see-through. And y'all know the see-through, like just same as going to the Jackson State games. You have to have a see-through bag, so don't get upset and bent all out of shape because they're asking you to have a clear bag. Only bags that are going to be allowed are diaper bags, and they will be checked also. So anyway, that's that with the fair. I want y'all to come down. Again, I'm excited. I'm so excited because, again, I was personally invited by Commissioner Andy Gibson, 3rd year in a row, and hopefully this can be something that James Hopkins and Reset do, for the remainder of forever. Every year. So we're going to come in and we're going to pray that fair in, and we're going to start it out right. And then after we finish praying, we're going to get the party started. I am James Hopkins, and tune in next week as we have 2 special guests on. One guest will be my co-host, Mr. Zion Washington. And the second guest will be yours truly. And we're going to have a special host here to interview us. And we're going to have fun. And we're going to be very informative. So y'all make sure y'all tune in as Zion Washington and yours truly. And I might bring Bully to do an interview too. We might let Bully do an interview too.
Just let him speak.
We will be the special guest next week. So we'll see you next week. James Hopkins signing off. Your words, your voice. Be blessed.